What if I told you mammoths didn't just go extinct at the end of the Ice Age? Some of them survived until 4,000 years ago. That's right, these giants walked the Earth long after humans built the pyramids. How did they last so long, and why did they eventually disappear? Their extinction story is far from simple, and it's more tied to us than you might think. Let's dive into the real reason these woolly giants vanished, and how it could change everything we thought we knew about extinction. Or, what if I told you woolly mammoths could actually come back to life? Yeah, you heard that right. Scientists are working on a plan to revive these giant creatures using genetic engineering. And get this, they might not just be cool to look at, they could actually help fight climate change. Imagine woolly mammoths roaming the tundra again, restoring ecosystems and locking up carbon in the soil. Sounds insane, right? Let's dive into how this crazy idea could actually work and why it might just change our planet forever. Woolly mammoths were huge. You might believe mammoths were just big elephants, but they were massive animals, unlike anything alive today. Scientists estimate woolly mammoths stood between 3 and 3.7 meters tall at the shoulder. That's around 10 to 12 feet tall, and weighed between 5,500 and 7,300 kilograms, about 6 to 8 tons. That size alone would blow most people's minds. Imagine walking up next to something that could easily outweigh 2 average cars combined. Here's a question. Why were they so big? Part of the answer comes from where they lived. Mammoths evolved in extremely cold regions of Europe, Asia, and North America during the Ice Age. They weren't built for warmth. They were built to survive Arctic conditions that got down to temperatures colder than minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Their bodies tell that story. They had a thick undercoat plus long outer fur, and beneath their skin was a layer of insulating fat, up to 10 centimeters thick. That's nearly 4 inches. Fur and fat kept heat in, while their smaller ears reduced heat loss even more. Another detail people miss is their tusks. Some mammoth tusks curved in huge arcs. They could reach more than 4 meters long in some species. These tusks weren't just for show. Mammoths likely used them to dig through snow to reach food, to fight rivals, or to pull down branches they needed to eat. And their teeth were wild too. Mammoths had multiple sets of big molars that replaced each other as they wore down on tough grasses. Every bit of their body adapted them not only to the cold, but to a life of constant struggle for food across vast frozen landscapes. Now here's something that really makes you rethink everything you thought you knew. How long did they actually survive after the Ice Age ended? That story flips expectations completely. Mammoths didn't disappear as soon as you think. You probably thought mammoths were wiped out thousands of years ago, but they stuck around way longer than most people realize. The typical belief is that mammoths vanished around 10,000 years ago when the Ice Age ended, right? But that's not entirely true. Some mammoth populations survived much longer than we thought, and they lived on in remote, frozen places you wouldn't expect. Let's break it down. While mammoths were disappearing on the mainland due to a combination of climate change and hunting, a population of them somehow survived until about 4,000 years ago. That's a full 6,000 years after the rest of the mammoths went extinct. This isolated group lived on Wrangel Island, located off the coast of Siberia. Now, this is mind-blowing. These mammoths weren't just a small, forgotten part of the past. They were thriving, with plenty of resources, food, and space to live. Despite the world warming up around them, these mammoths were still going strong. The last known mammoth on the island was about 4 feet tall, around the size of a pony. If you're wondering how they survived all that time, it's pretty simple. They were isolated. Wrangel Island was cut off from the rest of the world by rising sea levels, which meant humans couldn't reach them to hunt them down. The cold temperatures also helped slow down changes to their environment, so they didn't feel the full brunt of climate change like their mainland cousins. But here's where it gets even crazier. We have to ask the question, what killed these last mammoths? They lived in an environment with plenty of food and no humans were around to hunt them. So, what really caused them to vanish after all those years? Keep watching because the truth behind their extinction is far from what you might expect. The real reason mammoths went extinct. You probably assume that climate change was the main culprit behind the mammoth's extinction, right? I mean, it makes sense. The Ice Age ended and temperatures warmed up. But here's the twist. It wasn't just the heat that did them in. Sure, the warming climate played a role. But mammoths didn't go extinct overnight because of a little heat. The bigger problem? A combination of factors, and humans probably had a lot more to do with it than we realized. The end of the Ice Age meant different ecosystems. The lush, grassy landscapes where mammoths roamed were gradually replaced by shrubs and forests. The grasses they ate started to vanish, and it wasn't just the warmth that caused it. It was a shift in the types of plants that could grow in warmer conditions, and mammoths weren't built to eat shrubs, which made it harder for them to find food. Where it gets really interesting, humans. As the Ice Age ended, humans were everywhere. There's solid evidence that humans hunted mammoths for food, tools, and shelter. Some researchers believe that mammoth hunting by humans didn't just add pressure. It pushed mammoth populations to their breaking point. The Clovis culture, a group of humans that lived around 13,000 years ago, is thought to have used spearheads and other tools to hunt mammoths down. We know that humans didn't just hunt them. They also scavenged mammoth carcasses and used their bones and tusks for tools and shelter. There's even evidence that humans cooked mammoth meat over fire. It's like the mammoth was involved in every part of human survival during the Ice Age. But what if all of this hunting pressure, combined with climate shifts, was too much? What if it wasn't just the cold that did it, but a combination of climate and human impact? So, how did the last mammoths end up disappearing on Wrangel Island? That's still a mystery. They had plenty of food and no humans to bother them. But researchers think it might have been a genetic bottleneck, meaning there were so few of them left that they couldn't reproduce successfully. Next up, mammoth survival wasn't just about their physical traits. What really made them stand out was how they shaped their environment and what that meant for other animals. Keep watching. You won't believe the impact they had. How mammoths shaped the world around them. Mammoths weren't just big animals wandering around. They played a major role in shaping their environment. Their impact on the ecosystem was massive. Let's talk about the mammoth steppe. You've probably never heard of it, but this was the vast grassland ecosystem where mammoths thrived. It was a place that stretched across parts of North America, Europe, and Asia during the Ice Age. The mammoths were like giants mowing the lawn, keeping these grasslands in check. Without them, the vegetation would have taken over, and the ecosystem would have looked completely different. Mammoths weren't just eating grass. They were shaping the landscape. Their constant grazing prevented shrubs and trees from overtaking the open grasslands, which allowed other species to thrive. Without these herbivores to keep things in balance, the entire ecosystem could have collapsed. The mammoths' grazing habits helped keep that vast landscape open and thriving, and that in turn supported other wildlife. And it wasn't just about the plants. Mammoths also interacted with other large animals, like saber-toothed cats and giant ground sloths. While they were munching on grass, they were part of a bigger food chain, affecting everything around them. When they disappeared, that delicate balance started to crumble. So, what happened after the mammoths went extinct? Everything changed. Without these giant herbivores, the landscape started to shift. The absence of grazing allowed more trees and shrubs to spread, altering the habitat for other animals. Some species flourished, while others struggled. Mammoths weren't just shaping their environment. Their extinction had long-term ripple effects that we're still studying today. Without them, certain plants took over, changing the environment forever. And now, here's where things get even crazier. Could we bring back the mammoth? Well, scientists are working on it. Keep watching. The story of de-extinction is one you won't want to miss. Could we really bring mammoths back to life? Imagine this. What if mammoths weren't just a thing of the past? What if we could bring them back and re-wild the earth with these ancient giants? Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, right? But guess what? It's happening. There's a real effort underway to revive the woolly mammoth, and the technology behind it is mind-blowing. The idea is called de-extinction, using genetic engineering to bring back species that have gone extinct. In the case of the mammoth, scientists are looking at the Asian elephant, the mammoth's closest living relative, as a base for the project. They're editing the elephant's DNA to include mammoth traits. This could create a mammoth-elephant hybrid, one that looks and acts like a woolly mammoth, but is technically part elephant. Now, before you start imagining woolly mammoths running around in your backyard, let's talk about what this actually means. The goal is to use these revived mammoths to help restore ecosystems, specifically the tundra and grasslands that were once shaped by their grazing. By reintroducing mammoths to places like Siberia, scientists hope to reduce shrubs and trees, which could bring back the open landscapes that existed during the Ice Age. It might also combat climate change by trapping carbon in the soil, preventing it from entering the atmosphere. It's still in the early stages. While they've successfully sequenced mammoth DNA and even made mice with mammoth traits, yes, you heard that right, woolly mice, we're still far from having mammoths roam the earth again. But it's not just a pipe dream. Big companies like Revive and Restore are pushing forward with this project, and we're closer than ever to seeing it happen. Now, here's the wild part. Should we do this? There's a huge debate. Some people say it could benefit the environment and help fix climate change. Others think it's a dangerous experiment that could lead to unintended consequences, but one thing is for sure. This whole mammoth revival thing is happening, whether you're ready for it or not. What if we actually bring back the mammoth? What does that mean for the future of the planet? Hold on to that thought, because the debate's only getting started. The mammoth's legacy. Why they still matter. Today. Okay, so we've talked about mammoths, their size, their extinction, even the wild possibility of bringing them back. But here's a big question. Why should we even care about mammoths now? I mean, these creatures are long gone. They're nothing more than fossils and DNA samples. So, what's the big deal? Well, the mammoth's legacy still has a huge impact on us today. First off, let's talk about what they left behind. Mammoths shaped the landscape in ways that we're just starting to understand. Their grazing habits kept ecosystems open and allowed other animals to thrive. When they disappeared, ecosystems started to change in ways we couldn't have predicted. If they were still around today, who knows how the environment would look? They were more than just giant animals. They were ecosystem engineers. Their role wasn't just about keeping the grasslands alive either. Mammoths helped balance the food chain. Without them, other animals, like saber-toothed cats or giant ground sloths, had to adjust to new conditions, which could have led to their extinction as well. Without mammoths, the entire Ice Age ecosystem may have fallen apart. And it's not just about animals, it's about plants too. The grasses that mammoths ate were kept in check, and their grazing allowed these plants to grow in the right amounts. Without that balance, we might not have the plants we have today. So, when people ask, why bring back the mammoth? The answer might be more than just nostalgia or scientific curiosity. They were integral parts of an ecosystem that shaped the world we live in today. By bringing them back, we might restore some balance to ecosystems that have been broken for thousands of years. Mammoths aren't just important for science. They've become cultural icons. From prehistoric cave paintings to modern-day movies, these ancient giants continue to capture our imaginations. Their image is a reminder of a world that was different, a world where massive creatures roamed the earth, shaping everything around them. Now, here's something you probably didn't know. Mammoths' impact isn't just ancient history. Some scientists argue that if we bring them back and reintroduce them to the wild, it could actually help combat climate change. Sounds crazy, right? But we'll dive deeper into that idea next. Stay tuned. It's one of the most fascinating parts of the whole mammoth story. If the idea of bringing back mammoths blew your mind, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Want more wild stories like this? Just tap the next video and keep the adventure going. Thanks for watching.